The clarion call of the post horn indicated either an inn or a toll gate was imminent. Anne fervently prayed it was the post house at Stormby. It was, and Lady Anne and her portmanteau were deposited with less consideration than the bag of mail to stand bewildered and disoriented near the post-house door. "I beg your pardon," she said to the rotund little fellow who was lugging the heavy canvas mail-bag toward the post-house. "Is there a carriage to meet me?"
"Carriage, miss?"
the postal employee absently asked, blinking at her and scratching his behind. The post-house was a small cottage just a few yards from him, within Ames Ace. The interior, visible through the open door, was warmly lit with inviting lamplight. He shrugged, then turned away and continued pulling. "My name is Lady Anne Addison," Anne said, following him. "My friend, Lady John Bestwick, has arranged transport for me to Darkefell Castle. Where is my carriage?"
"Darkefell Castle?"
With a swift burst of strength, he hauled the mail-bag up over his shoulder and scuttled into the post-house, slamming the door shut. There followed the unmistakable sound of the bolt being shot. Lady Anne was left gaping in confusion in the twilight on the side of the lonely highway. It took a full 30 seconds for outrage to boil up in her heart. She strode to the door and pounded. "Is this how you treat your paying passengers, sir?" No answer. "I demand assistance," she shouted, pounding again on the thick plank door.
"Not an inn, madam, not an inn,"
his voice sang out from within. "I don't want to stay here. I want to go." Silence. Befuddled by the resolute lack of response, queasy from the journey, and exhausted beyond calculation, Lady Anne shouted, "I shall have a local magistrate down upon you, sir, and if there is no crime with which to charge you, I shall invent something. I have absolutely no sense of fairness where I have been injured." The only response to that was a rustling sound. A folded slip appeared from under the door, visible in the faint fan of light from the lantern above the door in the gathering gloom. One final little push, and the paper popped out and wafted in the breeze. She picked it up and held it toward the light. It was a crude map on a dirty scrap. She could just make out a road indicated, with what looked like rocky hillsides, a vague sketch of something labelled Castle, and the plea, "Go." "Go?" she shrieked, turning back toward the closed door. "Do you expect me to walk? It's almost dark." But did she have any choice? She gazed around, a chill racing down her back at the lonely desolation of this spot, a crossroads. Suicides were buried at crossroads. Hanged criminals were buried at crossroads. She took a deep, quivering breath. Nonsense, she would not allow herself to become hysterical. Rocky hills tumbled upward away from the highway, which was now just a dark stretch of winding road that dwindled in the distance. Stunted trees near the post-house huddled in Stygian shadows, and shutters blotted out any light from the interior fire and lamps. She pounded on the door again. "Do you have a carriage I could hire?" No answer. "Or a cart? Or even a horse?" Still no answer. She looked at the crude map again, holding it slanted to the light, and then gazed around her. It appeared that the road indicated was the one that ran at a 90-degree angle from the highway, just beyond the post-house. It had a definite slope, but a lady as fit as she could manage it. She was going to have to walk. Perhaps the carriage to pick her up was on its way. If she started walking, she would meet it. However, she could not possibly carry her portmanteau, which held everything she would need until her trunks arrived. She dragged them over to the cottage and hammered on the door again. She could hear him scuttling around inside. "Listen to me," she said loudly. "I'm going away. I ask only that you look after my bags until I can come back for them on the morrow." Nothing. But he was on the other